Instagram stories for Tuesday, June 3rd. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. Today on the show, we're going to have some updates about the Edits app. Additionally, the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, will stop by to explain some features about stories you might not know and dive into his weekly Ask Me Anything. Additionally, Ashley Coffey from the Coffey and Code podcast will stop by to share what's new this week in the world of AI. All of that and more on today's episode, but first, a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Let's start with the news portion of the show first and talk about the Edits app. This week, the Edits app has added 3 more features that you need to know about. First, more transitions. There are several new transition effects, including zoom ripple and vertical stretch, which you can easily add to every cut in your clips. There are now 35 different transition effects available in the Edits app. Additionally, they have added more track sensitivity, so you can be more precise with your video cuts. So when you tap the edge of a clip in your tracking sequence, you can refine it to the exact point you want. And the last feature the Edits team has added, apply all volume. You can now apply all volume changes to all of your clips at once to make a better audio experience for listeners, so there's not one part of the video that's way too loud. If you want to learn more about those features, I will link to the @creators account post in the show notes. You can get there directly. Now let's move on to the Adam Mosseri portion of the show. And here he is talking about stories and some features in the stories part of the Instagram app that you might not know about.
A few lesser known but pretty useful tools for those of you who use stories on Instagram. The first is that you can actually retroactively add a mention to a story. So yes, you can add a sticker mention when you're creating a story, but if you want to mention someone after the fact, you can go to that story and in the bottom right, you'll see a button that says mention. And by the way, when you mention someone in a story, they can actually share that story to their stories. The second is the ability to create a list of people who will not have access to any of your stories, even if they follow you and you follow them. So you can do this by going to your profile settings, and under the who can see your content section, there's a option called stories and live. And there you can add a list of people to hide all of your stories from. You can actually also do this on a per story basis by going to that story and clicking the 3-dot menu and going to story settings in case there's a group of people who you don't want to have seeing your content no matter what, but you don't want them to know about it. And lastly, for you power users out there, there's a bunch of extra features if you go to the stories camera. So you swipe right and you're in the stories camera, and in the top right there's a little gear button, and if you tap that, there are a lot of options. Things like deciding who can reply to your stories, or whether or not you want to support story comments, or whether or not you want to actually save every story you share to your camera roll. So for those of you power users who want to go really deep, there's a bunch of good options there. So let me know what you think. Send this to anybody who you think might find this useful. And if there are any specific features you'd like us to build into stories in the future, comment with them down below in the comments. See y'all soon. Peace.
I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with those features, but it is good to periodically look at the settings. You might have hidden your story from someone years ago for a specific reason, and maybe you look and you realize, I don't need to hide my story from that person anymore. Okay, let's go on to the Ask Me Anything portion of the episode, and let's start with a question that actually does relate to stories. Does it matter how consistent I am with posting stories or just reels? I would say that it is most important to do it in a way that will not burn you out. Here's Adam's answer.
It matters, but not as much as it matters for reels. Generally speaking, I don't want to tell people to post more than they're comfortable posting. You should do what's sustainable for you and what you find enjoyable and what you find works for your goals. But if you do stop posting for a long period of time, the ranking system sometimes doesn't know how well to value your content, and it can hurt your engagement. We're trying to fix that. It's not something that we want to be a feature of the system, but it's a more significant thing in Reels than it is in Stories.
Okay, let's go on to talking about the Reels bonus program. This is a program that Instagram had for some time where they were paying creators for making Reels. Then they rolled back the program. Then they were testing it in certain countries. It seems like the testing is not going well, but I think it's because it's coming from a bad place to start with. I'll explain more once Adam answers the question, is the Reels bonus program working?
Not yet. I think working means the program is not losing money, just breaking even. The payouts are significant enough that they don't actually burn credibility with creators. And the eligibility criteria is public, so you know what you need to accomplish in order to be eligible. Right now, we have not been able to achieve those 3 things for the Reels bonuses. We're actually closer for the photos and carousel bonuses, which is interesting. But what we find is when we pay people to create more reels, they do, but they don't create a lot more reels. The reels that they do create aren't as engaging as their normal reels, and it doesn't drive enough incremental revenue for us to even pay for the checks that we write to creators. So it's just burning money right now. We'll continue to iterate because that can change over time as how efficiently we monetize reels changes, as how creators' behavior on different platforms changes. But so far, not working.
This answer drives me absolutely crazy because I think fundamentally Instagram is starting from the wrong place. Here are some stats to give you context. In 2021, Instagram generated $32.4 billion in ad revenue. By contrast, YouTube, which pays creators and is the gold standard for paying creators, generated $28.8 billion in 2021. So in comparison, Instagram made $4 billion more than YouTube. Think about this in context. If YouTube can pay creators fairly, and Instagram makes more money than YouTube, but yet cannot find a way to pay creators fairly, something is fundamentally broken. Do I know how to fix it? Yes, pay creators more and make less profit. I am not a shareholder though, so I understand that that view is slightly jaded. However, Instagram is coming from a place where historically, since they have not paid creators, they expect creators to create content for free, and if they do pay them, that they will create higher quality and more content. That is starting from a fundamentally wrong place. This really bothers me. In case you think I'm making these numbers up, I will link to the Business Insider article from 2024. I covered this in a Reels video before. I've covered it on the show in the past, but I think it is really good to go back and look at these numbers and understand that Instagram does not want to pay creators and will not pay creators the way they need to be paid. YouTube has really set the gold standard in this regard. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the head of Instagram is going to talk about why Meta AI exists and how you could potentially use it. And Ashley Coffey is going to stop by to share her latest updates on what's happening in the world of AI. All of that and more, stick around. Welcome back. Continuing with the questions and answers from the head of Instagram. The next one, what's the point of using Meta AI on Instagram? Here's Adam's answer.
Depends on what you want to use AI for. The things that I'm most excited about are certainly AI creative tools to help all sorts of creatives tell their stories, make more content, make better content, or people who starting to make content that wouldn't have made content otherwise. Also really excited about using AI to help us better understand content in order to build search properly, translate videos so that they can be relevant and reach people all around the world who speak other languages, as well as supporting all of the meta bets like Meta AI.
Since we're on the topic of AI, here's this week's update from Ashley Coffey talking about all the things AI related that you need to know about.
Hello, everyone. Ashley Coffey here with your weekly roundup of AI news that happened related to social media this week. Thank you to Daniel Hill for having me come on and guest little spot here. It's really awesome to be able to share the latest AI updates with you all. As you know, technology is changing so quickly and it's just hard to keep up. And being able to collaborate with Daniel in this way has really been exciting. So thank you, Daniel. All right. Into AI and social media news. Let's get to it. So around AI generated content and misinformation, let's talk about it. You may have seen a video sometime this week, or either on TikTok or on Instagram. I myself saw it on Instagram because I'm not on TikTok, but this video was of what looked like a service animal that was a kangaroo being held up right before getting on the plane and holding a ticket. And there's a video of a woman clearly kind of in frustration with a service agent, and the camera pans into the little kangaroo looking really sad with his little ticket. So that was fun to see, and also see the reaction from the general public. So that is actually a 100% AI generated video. So this is also sparking discussions, as it has been, about the sophistication of AI in creating believable fake content. I did a TED Talk. I've done 2 TED Talks. One of my recent ones was actually on this topic exactly, on how to spot AI and misinformation and how to learn how to spot that both in generative video, audio, and text, because you gotta think multimodal now. Next up, there's also another viral video going around of an AI generated hosted America's Got Talent contestant. If you haven't seen this, it's kind of wild. This fictional contestant named Ernesto captivated millions with a heart-wrenching performance, and later it was revealed that he was entirely AI generated. So this, again, highlights the blurred lines between reality and synthetic content. Also, ESPN's Aaron Dolan warns fans of AI-driven impersonation scams. You probably have seen this as well with some popular influencers or celebrities, but Aaron Dolan cautioned her followers about fake accounts using AI to impersonate her and solicit money, emphasizing the rise of AI-generated scams on social media. So I highly recommend pausing before you click on things, before you rely on things as factual. We're just in that world now. We're going to have to double check. So watch my TED Talk. There is a checklist there. Next up, scammers are using AI to clone voices for fraud. We know that, so watch out. There has been a rise, particularly targeting the elderly to deceive them into sending money. So good and bad things about AI, we knew that. But most relevant this week is the competition of AI influencers competing for brand deals. What? So AI influencers are gaining popularity on social media, primarily because it's not a person, it's actual virtual entity that is making money without existing through brand deals, partnerships, you name it, models. And it's expanding and shifting this influencer marketing dynamic that we've seen into something that we honestly are not prepared for. So I'm going to continue to keep an eye on that. And lastly, Meta gains approval to use EU user data for AI training. They recently received approval to utilize European user data for training its AI models, which is a significant step in expanding its AI capabilities on a global scale. So if you're interested in diving deeper into any of these topics, please feel free to find me on Instagram and shoot me a DM. I'm over on Coffey and Code, COFFEYAND. That's my podcast where I talk about technology and try to help you stay informed. So again, this is Ashley Coffey. Thanks for allowing me to come back and share some AI news.
Thanks, Ashley. I will link to how you can find Ashley online in the show notes, and I will also link to Ashley's TED Talk so you can watch that too. That is going to do it for today's episode. I am working on an email newsletter roundup of all the social media news stories from the past week that you need to know about. If that's interesting to you, please send me a DM at Daniel Hill Media and I will send you a copy of it.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager but do not have a bachelor's degree, but actually that's factually a fraction of me. And other fractions posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work, without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish, unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that, there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.